On August 22nd, 2017, Eric Bledsoe tweeted, "I don't want to be here." This is the Museum of Twitter, the show we talk about the most important tweets in the history of Twitter.com. And if you're watching this right after I upload it, or at least before 2 a.m. Sunday morning, I'm currently live streaming here to raise money for the Trevor Project. So come by and donate some money. It's Sports Tweet Saturday, and today is one of those tweets that is not important at all on its face if you know nothing about sports, but was such a moment in NBA Twitter and is such a seismic tweet from an NBA player that I have to talk about it. Like, I actually remember reading this tweet, and I remember the fallout from it, and that's not a thing I can say about every tweet that I've covered on this series. So who is Eric Bledsoe? Eric Bledsoe was an NBA player that played through the 2010s and the beginning of the 2020s. He started off on the Clippers, but when he tweeted this tweet, he was on the Phoenix Suns. And apparently, and this was somewhat reported, he was disgruntled with his role on the Suns. The Suns weren't very good, and he wasn't playing up to his potential, or so he thought, and so he wanted to trade. And the history of NBA players wanting trades and asking for trades is very rich and is full of different stories, especially in the last 15 years as the player empowerment era has happened. People are more and more comfortable asking for trades, but it still is something that you do behind closed doors usually. In fact, you get fined if you do it in public. So usually it's a report that's like, so-and-so heard from so-and-so that this player wants a trade. And so while so-and-so had heard from so-and-so that Eric Bledsoe wanted a trade, it was not concrete until Eric Bledsoe just tweeted the words, "I don't want to be here." It wasn't the first time ever that someone had made a trade request public because, like I said, you get fined for it, so obviously someone had to break the rule for the rule to exist, but it's the first time it happened like this. I think it's the first time it happened on Twitter, and it's definitely the first time it happened in a super cryptic, kind of whiny way. And you know that the rumors of him wanting a trade were widespread because when he tweeted this, no one had any confusion as to what he meant. Like, if you have a normal job and you randomly tweet out, "I don't want to be here," people might think that you're dissatisfied with your job, but no one's gonna be like, "Yep, that confirms it. You want to transfer to another job." But yeah, this moment sped up the process of getting Eric Bledsoe traded. Because while you can call a bluff on a trade request, particularly in the NBA, it's usually a good idea to get in front of it so then at least you get something back for the player so they don't just leave in free agency. And the thing is, Eric Bledsoe was fine for this tweet. The NBA definitely saw this as him asking for a trade. This case was bolstered by the fact that reporting came out that he did meet with the GM and owner of the Suns asking for a trade during preseason. And the funny thing is, Bledsoe apparently denied that this was about being on the Suns, and he told the GM of the Suns when asked about it that it was about him being stuck at a hair salon. But the GM, Ryan McDonough, did not believe that to be true, and duh. And eventually he got his wish. A few weeks later, he was traded to the Milwaukee Bucks in exchange for Greg Moose Monroe and a first-round draft pick. I will note this was an absolutely awful trade for the Suns, as Moose Monroe was off the team halfway through the season. He was waived and only ended up playing like 100 more games for the rest of his career, and the first-round pick didn't convey as a first-round pick because of dumb NBA trade rules or whatever, and ended up being a second-round pick that they didn't even pick and ended up turning into a player that the Grizzlies got. It was a bad trade. And the reason I bring that up is not just to make fun of the Suns for making a bad trade, but to emphasize that this trade would have not happened if it was not for this tweet. They did not get good value on this trade. They would not have given up Eric Bledsoe with this little leverage if he didn't tweet that he didn't want to be there. Which is why DZ is absolutely right when he says, "This tweet changed NBA history, dog." And Mamba Out is correct when he pointed out in 2023 that this tweet is responsible for Damian Lillard being a Buck. Because Eric Bledsoe was traded to the Bucks. He played there for a few years. They made the playoffs a couple times. When they realized that they were not going to make the finals with him, they traded him in a package that ended up getting them Drew Holiday. Drew Holiday was on the Bucks. They won a championship with Drew Holiday, but eventually they felt they hit a ceiling with that team too. So in a 3-team trade involving Drew Holiday going to the Celtics, they got Damian Lillard from the Trailblazers. None of this would have been set in motion if Eric Bledsoe did not tweet, "I don't want to be here." And it really became a measuring stick for trade requests in the NBA. When PJ Tucker was asking for a buyout from the Clippers, he said, "I feel like I shouldn't have to go through this. I didn't ask to be here." And 6'3" No Personality called it a more polite sequel to Eric Bledsoe's "Smash It, I don't want to be here." And Worldwide Wob made a point I do agree with, which is, every time a player tries to get traded, I appreciate Eric Bledsoe more. No summer-long rumor leaks. No "That's All Folks" t-shirts. No general soreness. "I don't want to be here" right to the face. No, "We can still be friends post-breakup. Here are the papers. Sign when you're ready." Because while I don't think just tweeting "I don't want to be here" is the best way to go about it, since then, players have gotten so passive-aggressive with wanting to get traded. There's a whole thing of James Harden getting fat on purpose to get traded. It's like, just say you don't want to be here. That just saves everyone a lot of time. And another Suns player actually brought this tweet to mind for me recently when Bradley Beal was seen on the bench, not paying attention, not really looking interested. Adrian Ashton tweeted, "He doesn't want to be here." And the great thing is you can use this phrase even if you're not talking about the NBA. Multiple people have talked about it in regards to work. Max quote tweeted and said, "Just got into the office." And Reiko Avias, I apologize for mispronouncing that name, said, "Having a Bledsoe type of day. I don't want to be here at work right now." And if you're wondering where Eric Bledsoe is now, well, last I heard of him, he was playing in China, and apparently his team got disqualified from the playoffs after being accused of fixing a game, and Eric Clark said Eric Bledsoe probably said, "I don't want to be here again." So yeah, did this work out for Eric Bledsoe? I'm not sure. I think it probably did, because he got some pretty big contracts from the Bucks, and then the Pelicans, his next team. But also, whenever you're playing in China on the same team as Michael Beasley, although I do love Michael Beasley as a personality, I don't know if I ever can say that you won a situation. But he did win on the short scale. He was no longer there. He moved from the great city of Phoenix to the great city of Milwaukee. I think that that's a lateral move, though. I'm kidding. I've never been to either city. I'm sure they're both wonderful. Follow me from the tweet every day. Consider joining my Patreon where you get the Weekly Museum of Not Twitter and you can vote on my cover on Subscriber Sundays. And like I said, if you're watching this before 2 a.m. Eastern on Sunday, I will be live streaming, raising money for charity. I'll be hanging out with friends, giving away stuff, generally being a fool for 18 consecutive hours. So please join. The link is below me. I'm not going to say it because I feel like you won't see this video if I do.